In figuring out or untangling the issues with Sheldon's Google Drive, it became apparent that he had a personal Google Drive and a business Google Drive. And both Google and OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, has had personal accounts back in the past. They actually kind of started out that way before they even had business accounts available. So then when business accounts became available, some people wound up with having a personal side and a business side. And both of the companies, Microsoft and Google, appear to no longer allow that. So I'm going to play a previously recorded video here of me trying to decipher whether there is important data on the personal side of Sheldon's Google account. So here I'll click on a couple buttons and that should start running. I'll come back at the end of it. I've been working to resolve the problem with Sheldon's Google Drive. When I first log in to his Google account on any particular browser, it asks whether I want the business account or the personal account. And this time I responded with personal account. I had to do a password recovery because none of the password combinations I had would work. The password recovery sent a code to his email address, which I'm able to access. And then it brought me to this screen. Google accounts, your account has changed. Sheldon at Baker Dillon address is no longer available because an organization has reserved this bakerdillon.com address. So that confirms that the address is managed through the business account, but I'm trying to find out if there's a personal Google Drive. So Google products used with this account. Google Drive there, what kind of account would you like to have? So this is allowing me to create a new email address to associate with this personal account. I could do an account with Gmail and a new Gmail address, or an account that uses a non-Google email address. I don't think I want to do either of those. I just want to see, is there content in a personal Google Drive? I'm going to try to do this later. And don't switch to Chrome and see if I can get into Google Drive. So that says gtemp account. So can I get to a Google Drive in here? There's a resume, Google Buzz. Certainly doesn't seem to be much. So that's certainly not the solution to the Google Drive folder on his old laptop that won't synchronize. 241 KB of 15 used. So no, that does not answer the issue. But that is the Google Drive for his personal account, and I have not associated an email address with it. And this I did in Microsoft Edge. And over here in Opera, I have his business Google Drive. And it is failing to synchronize with his laptop. So that video was from a couple of weeks ago when I was trying to figure out if there was content in Sheldon's personal Google, both Microsoft and Google in the past, if you had a custom domain name, meaning your mail address at, and then your custom email name, it was very common that in the early days of Microsoft OneDrive, it was actually called SkyDrive, and Google's OneDrive, that you could have a custom domain name as a personal account, and that's all that was available. And then eventually both of them made business accounts available for custom domain names, and people who already had personal accounts then had a personal account for Microsoft and for Google, and a business account for Microsoft and Google. So when you put in your email address to try to sign in, it would ask, do you want the personal side or the business side? And then at some point along the line, both the companies decided this is not sustainable. And so they made the custom domain name only for business, and they wanted the personal stuff to be. So this little snippet right here is to correct something that I just said incorrectly, where I said that Google and Microsoft no longer allow custom domains for personal accounts, or I kind of implied that. That's not quite accurate. You can have a custom domain name with personal accounts with either a company. You just can't have personal and business using the same email address. So once you register your custom domain name with either company as being a company account address, then they only want company stuff there, and you have to separate out the personal. Unlike when they first implemented companies, you could actually access both. So yeah. So there's a point in that near the beginning of that video where you saw me click on a link, do this later or something to that effect. And the other links in that area was trying to get me to create a new Gmail address or to use some other email address, even if it's not a Google address, as an account credential for the personal Google account, so that Google could separate that content out. Because there was a place there where it said the data is safe, it's available, and they wanted to separate it some other way. So I said, do this later. That allowed me to see what content was there. And there's a point where I clicked in the upper right area for the account credentials, and you could see an email address that was something like gtemp account, something to that effect. So it was essentially a temporary email account that Google was using to let me access that personal data. So I got in there enough just to see that there's very little, hardly nothing of content in there, and it's old, and so we're just going to ignore that and go on without it. But this was part of deciphering or untangling the state of Sheldon's cloud account, and I thought that that would be useful to show. And so I hope this was useful. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.